Paul Heyman returns on SmackDown and reveals CM Punk as the fifth and final member of the OG Bloodline's War Games team for Survivor Series. All the details on that, plus Kenny Omega's in-ring return is now official. It will be taking place at Wrestle Dynasty early next year against New Japan Pro Wrestling star Gabe Kidd. QT Marshall drops Big Boom AJ with a diamond cutter on AEW Rampage ahead of their match this evening at AEW Full Gear. Speaking of the Costco guys, Tony Khan has revealed what he has learned from Big Boom AJ in his appearances with All Elite Wrestling. Shinsuke Nakamura once again attacks United States champion LA Knight on SmackDown last night. Chelsea Green advances in the Women's United States Championship Tournament, and Jade Cargill was laid out backstage. Plus, we have an update on Ricky Stark's status with All Elite Wrestling. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with the news that CM Punk is back on WWE television. In addition to Paul Heyman, and the former WWE champion is going to be competing in War Games at Survivor Series. CM Punk made his return on SmackDown Friday night to join the original Bloodlines War Games team, thanks in part to an also returning Paul Heyman. Punk had taken some time off to sell his injuries following his victory over Drew McIntyre at Bad Blood inside Hell in a Cell. He was revealed to be the fifth member of the babyface side after Heyman interrupted an in-ring segment between the two teams. Earlier on in the evening, Solo Sikoa called out Roman Reigns and the OG Bloodline to come to the ring for a terms of surrender, as the babyfaces were unable to find a fifth member for their team. When they met face-to-face, Sikoa said he had always loved the four of them, and if they join him, they can run the company for decades. Sikoa said Reigns didn't have a fifth man, didn't have a wise man, and didn't have any choice but to surrender and join him, or the four of you will die where you stand. Sikoa gave Reigns the mic, and before he could speak, Heyman came out announcing himself. He said to forgive him, as he'd been put through a table at Madison Square Garden, but there's no way to do War Games with 4-on-5, so it was going to be 5 versus 5. He gestured to the stage, and Punk's music hit. He ran down the ramp, and a brawl ensued, which ended with Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga on the receiving end of a spear and GTS respectively. Heyman got on the apron of the ring and looked on as Punk and Roman shared the ring with a huge smile on his face. Now, as far as why this happened and where this is going, well, we may have an answer as to the real reason why Punk joined the Team OG Bloodline team for War Games at Survivor Series. As I mentioned at the conclusion of last night's SmackDown in Salt Lake City, Utah, it was revealed that indeed Punk would be joining the original Bloodlines team. Now, Reigns and Punk did share the ring, as I mentioned, to have a stare down, and it was their first TV meeting since Punk returned to WWE a year ago at Survivor Series in Chicago last year. Punk's inclusion in War Games is one that caught many fans by surprise, with it seeming likely that this final spot was being set up for Seth Rollins to take, despite his resistance that we've seen in recent weeks on WWE television. According to a new report from WRKD Wrestling, Punk's inclusion in War Games is something motivated by Rollins' refusal to align with Roman Reigns, and will play into a WrestleMania program between the best in the world and the Visionary. WRKD Wrestling posted the following on X, saying, quote, CM Punk joining Team OG Bloodline will be used as fuel in the Rollins/Punk feud in the future, with Punk citing that he stepped up to help when Rollins didn't. Still heading towards that Mania match, #SmackDown. Now, as many of you will remember, CM Punk versus Seth Rollins was reportedly planned to be a marquee match for WrestleMania 40 this year. This, of course, before CM Punk suffered a triceps tear during the 2024 Men's Royal Rumble match. The feud was picked up once again at SummerSlam when Rollins was added as the special guest referee for Punk's first match with Drew McIntyre. Rollins would once again tease a future showdown with Punk when he interrupted the Second City Saints' last televised promo on the October 7th edition of Monday Night Raw. Now, Kenny Omega officially will be competing once again inside the squared circle. It's official. AEW Executive Vice President Kenny Omega will be returning to the ring in 2025 to face Gabe Kidd at AEW and New Japan's Wrestle Dynasty pay-per-view. Omega has spent the entirety of 2024 on the shelf after being diagnosed with diverticulitis, having last wrestled against current NXT superstar Ethan Page on the December 5th, 2023 episode of AEW Collision. The former IWGP Heavyweight Champion returned to New Japan Pro Wrestling at Power Struggle on November 4, making a special appearance as anticipation built for his return to the ring, but was later filmed in a backstage altercation with Kid. The pair have since jabbed at one another verbally during interviews, with Omega first declining to be interested in facing the opponent. However, he made the formal challenge after discussion with New Japan Pro Wrestling officials, which Kid accepted via social media. New Japan Pro Wrestling has now confirmed the bout will take place on January 5th at Wrestle Dynasty. Now, Kid currently reigns as the New Japan Strong Openweight Champion after defeating AEW's Eddie Kingston in May, but the title has not been announced as on the line for Wrestle Dynasty. This will be the first time they have ever shared the ring and will undoubtedly be considered one of, if not the biggest match of Kid's career, with Omega not only a former IWGP Heavyweight Champion, but also a former United States, Intercontinental, Junior Heavyweight, and Never Openweight Champion too. Even before his spell on the sidelines, Omega was on the hunt for gold alongside Chris Jericho, together defeating the Young Bucks at Full Gear a year ago for a shot at the AEW Tag Team Championships. His illness rendered him unable to compete, and he was later written off television via an attack from the Young Bucks, a situation that caused him to recently suggest he could be coming looking for revenge on the EVPs alongside longtime tag team partner Kota Ibushi. Now, sticking with AEW here, QT Marshall landed a blow on his opponent ahead of their match at Full Gear this evening. During the November 22nd episode of AEW Rampage, tensions escalated between QT Marshall and Big Boom AJ during their weigh-in ahead of their scheduled match at AEW Full Gear 0 Hour. Marshall criticized AJ's abilities, stating that he lacked the necessary skills both 2 decades ago and in the present. He further taunted AJ by suggesting he would powerboom him through the ring and requested that the Rizzler, serving as the special guest timekeeper, ring the bell when this occurred. The weigh-in revealed Marshall at 229 pounds, while AJ's weight was humorously displayed as 550 pounds, leading to accusations from AJ's son Big Justice that the scale had been tampered with. The confrontation turned physical when Marshall delivered a diamond cutter to AJ, intensifying the animosity between the two ahead of their upcoming match. This altercation adds to the anticipation for their bout at AEW Full Gear 0 Hour, where AJ, accompanied by Big Justice, will face Marshall in a match that has garnered significant attention from fans and news outlets. Speaking of which, it's been very widely documented all of the publicity that Big Boom AJ has been doing for AEW as he approaches his in-ring debut for the organization. Now, AJ of the Costco guys may bring the boom on social media, but whether it can be brought up to a credible match to Full Gear will largely depend on QT Marshall possibly carrying him through it, according to some. The social media star will clash with Marshall at Full Gear during the 0 Hour pre-show, and on a recent media call, AEW President Tony Khan claimed he picked up a few nuggets of wisdom from AJ and his son Big Justice. He said, quote, "I have learned a lot about marketing and entrepreneurship from AJ and Justice," Khan said. "Those guys are tremendous. I personally have really had my eyes opened on what they've been able to do." With over 2.1 million followers on TikTok, Khan suggesting their popularity ultimately boils down to likability. He said, quote, "They're a really nice family. It's nice to see a father and son working together. I think that's part of the appeal. Clearly, America and people all over the world want to see this father and son. They're having a good time and they like spending time together." Then there's the Rizzler, a 7-year-old influencer featured in many of the Costco guys' videos. The Rizzler, as I mentioned, will also be a part of Full Gear, and he appeared alongside the Costco guys on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon to promote the event. Khan said he appreciated the extra exposure. Quote, "To be featured on The Tonight Show and have AEW discussed on such a prestigious platform, that was really cool," he said. And that's just one example of the high-profile media that Big Boom AJ and Big Justice have been bringing to AEW. Now, going back to SmackDown last night, once again, Shinsuke Nakamura attacked United States champion LA Knight. Last week, of course, LA Knight defeated Berto of Legado del Fantasma in a efficient United States Championship match. On Friday's episode of SmackDown, the megastar took to the faction's leader, Santos Escobar, in a similarly successful title defense, only to have his celebration similarly cut short by the newly returned Shinsuke Nakamura. Before Knight and Escobar could even lock up, Nakamura made his presence known via an ominous video message, a tactic that Nakamura has used extensively in the past to intimidate his opponents. Escobar took advantage of the taunt tactic to first land the big hit on a distracted Knight, and the match turned into a title defense. Escobar landed a few solid hits on tonight, but the megastar turned the tide to after a choice headbutt from the top rope. Knight's momentum, however, was kiboshed by Nakamura after he appeared once again on the entrance ramp to demand his attention. Escobar, the ever opportunist, landed a Hurricane Rana that distracted Knight and nearly upset Salt Lake City with a phantom driver. Knight escaped the move by the skin of his teeth, however, and transformed the momentum into a successful BFT to retain the title. Knight had little time to celebrate as Nakamura swiftly entered the ring to lay blow after blow on the United States champion. Nakamura laid Knight out with a Kinshasa for a second week in a row, Knight being laid out by the King of Strong Style. So could this be heading to a United States Championship match in the future? Now, speaking of US titles, the Women's US title were on our way to crowning the inaugural champion, and Chelsea Green has advanced in the Women's United States Championship tournament during SmackDown. The tournament kicked off last Friday with Bayley getting the victory against BFAB and Candice LeRae to advance in the semi-finals, and she will now be joined by Green, who stole the victory from Bianca Belair over Blair Davenport. Belair appeared to have the bout won with a 450 splash to Davenport, only for Green to throw her out of the ring to try and make the cover for herself. Belair pulled Green out of the ring to interrupt the count, driving her opponent into the steel steps before finally making a pinfall attempt, which Davenport kicked out of. Then Belair's Women's Tag Team Championship partner Jade Cargill was shown to have been put through a car windshield via the Titantron, prompting Belair to abandon the match. Green sought to take advantage as she got back in the ring, only to have kick out of a pinfall attempt from Davenport, but ultimately delivered the Unprettier to win via pinfall. Now, Cargill's status right now is unknown, as she was later shown to be taken away in an ambulance, with Belair joining her ahead of her own triple threat match in the next first round bout. She is scheduled to face Piper Niven and Michin, while the fourth and final first round triple threat will feature Naomi, Tiffany Stratton, and Elektra Lopez. And finally, do we have any more details on absolute Ricky Stark's status with All Elite Wrestling? Well, Ricky Stark's AEW contract status has been the topic of conversation amongst wrestling fans for months, with his last appearance for the company coming on the March 30th episode of AEW Collision. In a one-week-only return to his Figure 4 weekly wrestling column, filling in for a vacationing Dave Meltzer in the absence of usual Wrestling Observer newsletter, Brian Alvarez confirmed that Starks is taking indie bookings, but says nothing official has changed in his AEW status other than he's never around, end quote. Alvarez also noted that there is apparently little communication, if any at all, going on between Starks and the company. Starks recently spoke about an appearance at Glory Pro Wrestling, and he'll be challenging Cody Lane, A1 Zero Gravity champion, at WrestlePocalypse on November 24, the day after AEW's Full Gear pay-per-view. Now, Starks said in the interview he would go stir crazy if he was stuck at home for much longer, so he took the opportunity to challenge Lane, as he's known him for quite a bit. He himself confirmed that he remains under AEW contract. Stark's last AEW appearance came when he and Big Bill lost in a tag team title tournament match to Top Flight on AEW Collision. The end of the match was changed on the fly due to a reported injury scare. Starks confirmed later that he was physically okay and AEW was only taking precautions. He expressed his intent to return to the ring, and he said he felt like he was more than ready back in October. At the time, a report said the problem was the company not having any long-term creative plans for him. Starks has not publicly stated when his contract with AEW ends. But there you go, guys. The latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.